Hi guys, getting ready to get started on the layout of the center lamb or the core of our bamboo back and belly bow build, and wanted to just kind of discuss layout right quick because I have encountered what is actually a pretty common problem amongst board bowyers for sure, and that is a piece of wood that may not be in perfect shape. So let's just kind of talk about what has been out there with regard to basic layouts on board bows like this. So I have seen instruction come out. You buy a 72-inch 1x3 or 1x2 board at the lumber yard, right? You find your center line and you measure out 4 inches either direction, which kind of encompasses your grip and your fades here and here. And then, come out to the ends here and mark out your center line here, right? And then, work from your fades out to these tips and draw in either a pyramid design or even draw parallel out for a little ways and then taper into your tips, however you want that limb profile to look. And one of the things that is just not discussed or addressed in those instructions is when you come across a board that kind of does this. All right, and I have got that tip up against a straight edge, and I've got that tip touching our straight edge, and we are literally, I measured it, this gap right here is like a 1/4 of an inch gap, right? Like your grip is going to be offset from your tips by more than 1/4 of an inch if you were to follow that advice on the layout on this particular piece of wood. So we want to avoid having limbs that are not in perfect alignment. Now, I'm sure that some creative bowyers, they lay this thing out, they get it all put together, and when they realize their string is tracking like 1/4 of an inch off of center, they jump back and say, oh, we're going to designate that side as the arrow path side and call it closer to center shot, etc. But I'm telling you that from the get, if that is the way you put strain on these limbs to begin with, you are already inducing a twist that you're not going to be able to control once the tillering begins. You cannot just jump back from this and take a string that's not tracking center and call it okay. A well-built bow, the string on a well-built bow will bisect its grip, no matter which side you're shooting off of. If you want something more center shot, then build in something in the way of a shelf or offset your grip to give yourself some space there. But your limbs should track 100% on center for the string path. Okay, so how do we fix this? All right, we got a couple different methods. So you'll notice I've got a really long straight edge here, and the straight edge thing is great. Not everybody can afford or has a straight edge, and you would want to make sure it's like a builder straight edge so that the edge is in fact straight. Otherwise, you're going to be working off of something that is not. So don't assume any board edge is straight. You would want something that you know for sure is dead accurate. We can do some other things too, like a template. So if you go through the hassle one time of getting something really well laid out in the way of a template, and you could use that, and you can see when I line this up at its grip, and I really like to bisect the fades, not the grip section, because your grip could go, your grip's going to thin out. But notice how that tracks against this board. I mean, it's almost got the limb profile already on the one edge before you ever do any shaping to it at all, especially on this one end here. And then we cut out the remainder of this material here, so that we do in fact get, a straight bow out of a crooked piece of wood. We never want to assume that that piece of wood is straight. All right, so there's way number one, or two rather, a template or a straight edge to help you get through. And if you're using a straight edge, and actually, guys, I'm gonna stop recording for a real quick second and set up one more method that will work very well. And you can use this on an undulating surface like a self bow or a primitive type bow too. It doesn't have to be relegated to a board. But let me get the next setup for you. All right, guys. So I just got a string stretching across the length of that stave there, the blank, and I just for weights I've just got clamps hanging from them. And so what I've done is I've hit my center mark on my two ends here. And what you'll find is that if you were to use that as your center line, that you're going to shortchange yourself through your grip area. So trying to make a grip this skinny is pretty tall order. I mean, you lose a lot of girth on your limbs, and what we want to do is maximize the width through the limbs, understanding that our tips are going to get narrow as they approach the ends of the board here. So we don't need full width of the ends, we need full width of the center. Now, the way I like to set these up is between the fade lines, and this way I know that we have got the widest width that we can accomplish right there where the limbs begin. So if we give up just a hair through the grip, so be it. The grip is going to be thinned 9 times out of 10, just depending on how you're building your bow. But this is the least concerning area should we be a little thin. So I'm going to reposition these guys out here to where I think I was pretty sure they're centering. And so we're much closer here, just a little bit on each of them. And once we get that lined up, now we know that we're centered through our grip area, and we can mark off now our centers here. So we're going to mark that as the center of our tip on one end. We're going to mark this as the center of the tip on our next, and then we lay out the shapes of our limbs from there. All right, so that we've got equally shaped limbs on both sides of this bow. And that is how you ensure that you give yourself the groundwork for a string that bisects the length of the limbs. That is our ultimate goal. Again, like I said, there's no virtue in a bow that does not track or bisect its limbs with its bowstring. All right, so there's the layout for our core lamb, and then of course once we've got that core set up and in shape, we will use it as our template on the bamboo, because the bamboo could potentially suffer from the same scenario as far as being dog-legged in some way. But as I had showed earlier, a template is a quick and easy way to ensure that the resulting design is in fact straight from tip to tip. All right, so a little quick shout out on how to lay out your bow or your core lamb or your backing or your belly or your self wood board bow. No matter what you're laying out, this is definitely something you want to consider before you cut out the shape of your bow. All right, so thanks guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and hit for updates so that you can get the next installment of this build.